Hello, hello. Welcome to another very interesting week on planet Earth. Have you been traveling this week? Have you had any interesting memories come up? I certainly did. Today, I was remembering back when just before I was going to get married, and that was a long time ago. When I first was 20 and we were just about to get married, and we went to those classes before you go to marriage to prepare you for the journey of marriage. And I remember we went into the room and looked around. There was a number of other people who were also preparing, and the priest entered the room, and the first words that he said, "Can you hear it?" And he put his hand to his ear. "Can you hear it?" And we're all looking around, looking at each other. What's he talking about? And he said, "Can you hear it? It's the conveyor belt of life. And you're about to get on that conveyor belt of life." Now, in that moment, I thought, I have no understanding of what he means at all. But anybody who's been on a journey when they've got married, getting to know you and, sort of understanding your partner and moving through that. But you can imagine at 20, I had really no idea of who I was, let alone who my partner was at that time. So that was an interesting journey. But it really reminded me of today, because for me and the people that I'm talking to feel like we're very much on that conveyor belt of life at the moment. Destination, I'm not too sure where, but with very interesting narratives that are triggering us in all sorts of different ways. This week, I've spent a lot of time talking to our community, to my friends who are feeling a little bit in despair. There's a lot of anxiety that's going on with people. There is this real anger and frustration that is building up, which I have mentioned before, but it seems to be especially in Australia, where we're very locked down, very rigidly controlled, there seems to be really a crescendo. And it's like two ways. It's this, Leo energy that we're in at the moment, fight, you're not going to push me into everything. And they're just, all the courage is being felt within them, and they're standing there roaring like lions. Or there's this other group of people who are feeling like, oh, I just want to escape. I don't want this. I can't cope with this. This is all too much. I've got anxiety. I'm feeling despair. What am I going to do? So this very much helpless energy. And I'm, looking at people when they say to me, I'm going to have a jab because it's going to allow me to escape and go somewhere where I don't have to experience what's happening in the moment. And I think the gift in all of this is that we've had to spend more time with ourselves, that we've had to feeling the feels that come up, and instead of just pushing them down or getting too busy, we have had to really look at them and deal with them. And how I moved through that, yesterday I did some beautiful breath work with a group that just really allowed you to, do some deep body breathing, where you're breathing in through your mouth and then out through your mouth, and it really connects you to your body, but also where you've stored those emotions and memories that have been trapped within your physical body. And it's very releasing. It really does. It would just absolutely, you can release in whatever way, whether it be a cry, a scream, but you actually get to release that. And any moment we have that opportunity to, sink into our body and start to do some deep breathing and just come into the moment of now, because really that's the only thing that we can control. We can't control what's happening out there. We can only control what's happening in our consciousness and what is also happening in our thoughts. And there is a beautiful few ways that you can sort of harmonize that if you're feeling like you're a bit out of sync at the moment. So there's a beautiful number code from Grigori Grabovoi that I use most days. It's the number code for harmonizing the present moment, and that is 71042. So 71042. You can just repeat it a number of times, or you may want to see it and imagine that there is a silvery white sphere and you see the number code written on the inside wall, and notice which number or numbers seems to be shining to you the most. This number is saying this frequency, this number needs your attention because it is not in harmony. And so the number code creates a standing wave of consciousness, like you're singing into the information field. And so by you focusing on that number code, you're helping to then restore harmony in the present moment. The other number code that I would love to give you to help you if you're going through any anxiety at the moment is this number, 51949 131948. So 51949131948. So this is for helping to restore harmony where you are experiencing anxiety within you. So you can, as I said, repeat the number code a minimum of 3 times. You may want to observe it in a sphere or even write it on a piece of paper and have a look at the number and just see which number is attracting your attention. Keep your focus on the number code and just repeat in your consciousness. If you're using the anxiety number, harmonize any feelings of anxiety and restore me to the creator's norm. Or if you're using the number code for the present moment, you can also harmonize of the present moment to the creator's norm. And just by stating that, you're having the standing wave of your consciousness focused on the particular number that's jumping out at you the most. And by focusing on that, you are harmonizing the areas that are out of frequency. And when you notice all the numbers are all shining the same, you know you've actually harmonized any distortions that's actually out there in the collective consciousness, and also for you, because we're all connected to the collective consciousness. So there are just a couple of ways to, help to bring a little bit back, more harmony back to you. But the other thing is that you can do is go out in nature. I know I'm always rabbiting on about this, but go out in nature, take your shoes off, put your feet on the ground, really connect onto the planet, onto this new beautiful crystalline grid, and start to realize that a bit like Dorothy when she was in the red shoes in The Wizard of Oz and clicking her heels in the red shoes and saying, there's no place like home, there's no place like home. Well, there's no place like here, because when we're looking to move into the golden age or into high states of consciousness, onto a 5D timeline, or into, as Grigori Grabovoi would say, into eternity in a physical body, we have to be in this physical body, well rejuvenated, and heaven on earth already exists. It is already here. We just need to be able to lock in our perception and our consciousness to see where harmony, where heaven already is here. And I was talking to a girlfriend who's up near Byron Bay, and she said, we're all in lockdown here. She said, I was sitting in my garden, the sun was out, the beautiful flowers and birds around her. She said, I looked over to my saltwater swimming pool. I looked over to my house. I'm getting some new bathrooms in there. I looked up and there was the sun and the palm trees were just swaying. And in that moment, she said, I'm already in paradise. I don't have to go anywhere else. I'm already here. And I think if we can remember that, it's how we view the world and what's happening, that when we see it in distortion, and really focus on the distortions and talk about it a lot, we're also helping to create that, because that's what we are, creators. And so have a look what you're creating in this moment. Are you creating harmony, or are you creating fear? Are you part of the fear? And the fear's there really not to give you a hard time, but to show you that there's some distortions in your consciousness that need to shift. And, when you realize who you truly are, when you know who you truly are to your core, into your heart, and you know how powerful you are, then any outside narrative is not going to have an effect. So I hope that helps you this week if you've been really struggling. We've got some interesting things we're doing in our masterclass this week. So we'll be bringing up how to remember exactly those memories that you've lost, so opening up our memory. We're going to do a beautiful control that Grigori Grabovoi gave us back on the 8th of August in his convention. And we're going to also learn why it's important to work with spheres to restore our health And the last thing we're going to be doing is we're going to look how this universal grid works that we're part of, what our part is in that, and also how we affect the grid of everyone else. So quite a bit to do this week, but really everyone, I'm just sending so much love to you, and just realize that this is the evolution, the revolution of the evolution of consciousness. In some way, if you look at the bigger picture, this has to happen. All this has to happen so that people can wake up, and people, when people look at us Aussies here, you know, the Aussies are pretty easygoing, and some way a bit asleep and some way a bit naive, and they're finding it really hard to believe that the people that they've handed their life to, their power to, may not have the best intentions for them. And so we're really having to remember the only person that can be responsible for our life is you, and everything comes back to you, because you affect everything else. And without you, you don't exist. The world does not exist. So have a beautiful week, the rest of the week, everyone. And I'll see you again. Bye for now.